Today's video is going to be all about how I became a racer. No way. Oh yeah, that's right. We're doing Jeeps today. So, for all three of you that don't know, I got called out by Bleepin Jeep to tell my Jeep story about, how I got into Jeeping and, just where it all started, where it began. It's a thing that's been going around the tube lately. It's interesting to hear how everyone started. So, yeah, I guess you people want to see it, huh? So Jeeping for me has been a fairly recent thing. I've had the channel for, I think, about 10 years now, and the Jeeps have only been about 5 of it. So I guess we got to go back to where it all began. So when I was a wee lad, I used to like cars and stuff like that all the time. I could probably find pictures and things of, when you'd have all the Hot Wheels cars and you'd line them all up, and, it was just cool. You had your own little parking garage of stuff, and then, you got some track and you started, racing them down the stairs and stuff like that, crashing them into things. And then I got Connects. Connects were really cool. You could build things, so you could make whatever kind of car you wanted with big wheels and lifted, electric motors and all kinds of stuff. And I'd play with them in the dirt, put little lights on them so you could drive around at night. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So then when I started to get older, I got into RC cars. So now it's a lot faster and a lot cooler. You can stand in one place and just drive them all around. And, you'd take them off in jumps and drive them through the dirt, and then they'd break, and then you'd have to fix them. And for one of them, I used to have, if you remember, Duratrax, the Evader ST. That was the OG right there, back when Tower Hobbies was a thing. I actually had some repair videos. I never ended up posting them, but of like me fixing like control arms or things like that. And, see where this is going? So, start getting into video games and things like that. Lots of racing games, lots of driving in general, all that good stuff. I'm going to name a couple soundtracks. Let's see if you can guess what game they're from. So you got things like the classic Need for Speed Underground. Oh, and of course there's the off-road scene, Test Drive Off-Road 3. That was some gorgeous stuff. 4x4 Evo 2, and the almighty Dirt series. It doesn't like a little rally. And for some real good fun, Burnout 3 Takedown. That is some good stuff right there. So I guess it started in the family. Back when I was younger, we had SUVs. That's all we had was big trucks. We didn't really mess around with them small cars. We always liked to be up off the ground and driving through just about any weather condition you wanted. And looking back in some photos, here's the classic lineup. Notice anything interesting there? My dad actually had I think it was a 1986 Jeep MJ. Good old Comanche. It was only the 2.8 liter V6 two-wheel drive. It wasn't anything fancy, but back in the day, it was cool, man. You had a Jeep pickup truck. You were king of the hill. Best memories of that thing, he used to drive me around, and we'd go through some stuff. He had a color-changing radio. It changed from, like, orange to green, and I thought that was, like, the coolest thing ever back in the day. You could have, like, a night mode and a day mode. My parents would always say that when I was younger, I'd walk through like parking lots and stuff like that, I'd always name out all the different brands of all the makes of trucks and vehicles and stuff like that. So I've been into cars my whole life. So then high school comes around, you pass that driving test, and now finally you get to drive your own car. So what did I start out with? A Honda CR-V. Yeah, that's right, we're bringing it back to the race gang. I had a 2003 Honda CR-V as my first car, as my dad's, as a hand-me-down, and it was a nice little car, It had all-wheel drive, and it could get just about anywhere you wanted as long as you weren't in too deep. But it all started one day when one of my buddies wanted to have a little barbecue. I'm like, all right, that sounds kind of cool. But here's the catch: it was in a sand pit, and we had to get through this little tiny entrance and pop over there. He had like some Chrysler thing, and I had the CR-V and popped it up in there and went through the sand. I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool. Drove through there, got into this spot. We're sitting next to like the lake and things like that. We just had a little barbecue, and after that, we decided to mess around. There were some puddles and stuff that we drove through. And if you go back far enough on the channel, you will find that video. I think that's really what kind of sparked it all. Once I finally got a taste of that, all that dirt and business, it just never stopped. So after the barbecue, I started looking around like other local places, like just the simplest stuff, dirt roads and things out by the bay. And one day after school, I found like a little bay road. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Went down it, and of course, when I tried to turn around, that's when you get stuck. I got stuck real bad in some bay mud. I was out there for probably like 45 minutes. I'd have some buddies come by and help push me out. But yeah, after that seed was planted, and we just started doing all kinds of dumb stuff. We'd find all the local pits and all the dirt and things like that, and go get stuck and see what I could do. So I had the cool all-wheel drive CR-V. I was like, hey, look at me, I'm king of the town. My buddy only had a Pontiac, so he'd take me down some dirt roads or something like that. He'd try to get his little car sideways, and he'd go down some dumb stuff. Even some of the other pits where a car definitely shouldn't be, he'd push it, see what he could get through. Just, it's your first car, you want to see if you're into it. So he'd push that thing pretty hard. We got some funny clips of that thing, getting stuck and trying to pull that out of the sand. The CR-V didn't have the power to pull that thing out. We actually had to walk down the street to some guy with a truck and see if he could help us pull it out. And he did. We got it out. But yeah, he quickly realized that he needed something better than a car. So that's when he started looking into trucks. So he was looking at some Fords and some old Dodges and things like that. But he finally found a Jeep pickup truck. He was like, hey, this thing's pretty cool. It's a Comanche. Like, huh, that's neat. He finally picked it up. I think it originally had like a snowplow on it, but he didn't buy it with that. So I think he got it for like 23 or something like that. Took it home and seemed to run pretty well. So we took it out to forest and away we went. The Comanche. If you've ever seen the red MJ on my channel, that's his. He was always the navigator, so he'd look through Google Maps and find all some cool spots. He'd go out to like Wharton and all these weird things, and I try to follow him in the CR-V, and I did pretty well for the most part. There's a couple good ones, like minivans can't flex, and when Hondas fly, those are some good throwbacks. So I started to realize once he got a real truck that my little all-wheel drive lifted Civic wasn't really keeping up. So of course I had to go bigger. So that's when I found this guy right over here, a 1989 Jeep Cherokee Pioneer. It was listed for about $1,600, and a couple problems. The guy was working on it for a little bit, and he just wanted to get rid of it. It was something local. I went over to check it out. I'm like, oh, this thing's pretty cool. Like, give me like a week or two, because I was working. I was still trying to make money, so I was saving up to get this thing. And he's like, all right, I can wait a little bit. And then not even a week goes by. He's like, you still want to buy it? I'm like, yeah, I'm saving up. He's like, you know what? I'll take like 1,000. I'm like, done. So I went over, picked it up that day, drove it home. I'm like, oh, this is the coolest shit ever. So I finally had my own Jeep. Bone stock, mismatched tires, and rust for days. But, it was a Jeep, and that's all that really mattered. Started working on it and found that it had a major coolant leak. So I had to pull the whole engine apart to change the freeze plugs before I could, register it and drive it. And that's kind of where the series, that's how the Jeep part of the channel started to take off. Originally, it was just so that I could remember. I have terrible memory. I'm lucky I remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday. So I film everything, so that way I can look back and go, oh yeah, I did this or I did that, and I tried to keep like a log and things like that of all the parts I changed. And it was really just to help me remember where all the bolts went after I took it all apart. So I figured, I got a channel, I could start uploading it. So, you know, I started posting little things here and there. It wasn't really how-to videos, it was more just like, here, this is me working on the Jeep, trying to figure it all out. And eventually just kept growing from there. So I finally got the Jeep back together after a couple months, and got to drive it around, and finally got to go with my buddy, and then we were a little Jeep crew, you know, 2 little stock Jeeps driving around. Renix, of course. He had an 87, I had the 89. And we just started looking around the forest and getting in all kinds of trouble and getting in deep water and flooding it and sinking it and getting it stuck. Just about every week. It was great going out at night, you know. So and then one of my other buddies, he bought a lifted Jeep, you know, bought not built, and it was up on like 4 or 5 inches of lift and 33-inch bald all-terrains. And, you know, he was taller, so he could make it through stuff. He'd make it through the puddles, and we'd send him out first to try to see if he could get stuck, and of course he always did. We'd pull him back out and just do all kinds of stuff. And eventually, the whole little local crew, our little bad boys group, we all had Jeeps. We got to just go out and have a blast. It was great, you know? It was something that we could all do, because we were all hooligans. We didn't have anything else better to do. We'd take our little Jeeps out, go get some food, and go out wheeling. Just about every time it ended with someone getting stuck for an hour or two as we trying to figure out how to pull them all out and learn the ropes, so to say. So over time, I realized stock Jeep wasn't going to do it anymore. So the way I always looked at modifying this Jeep was take it out and see what it can't do. And if it can't do that, figure out how to fix it. So I found I was getting stuck in puddles, I was stalling out, I needed a snorkel. And I was still getting stuck, but at least the engine wasn't stalling, so I needed a bumper to put a winch on or something like that. So I finally got a bumper and a winch, and alright, I can finally do some stuff, you know, I can have some fun. And I'm finding out, you know, it'd be nice to not flood the Jeep every time I go through a puddle. Let's try to lift it, you know, lift it, get some bigger tires on there, and just kept going from there, you know, lockers and light bars and drivetrain upgrades, inside upgrades, bed line in it, fixing rust, all kinds of stuff. And here we are, almost 6 years later, with a heck of a beast that can get through just about anything. So that's always just been the motto, you know? Drive it till you break it, and then see if you can make it stronger. But over time, I was making my Jeep better, and the MJ buddy, he was kind of falling behind. So the entire like group that we had all had a Jeep at least at one point, until they got sold or, you know, street babied or left in tents until I was basically the only one left. So I had this kind of cool Jeep that could go through all the spots we've been to a billion times, and I'm like, well, now what? I don't have anyone else to wheel with. And there was a guy on YouTube that commented, that contacted me and said I should join a local group. It was a group out in Pennsylvania called UOA. And I'm like, maybe, you know, see what it's all about. So I check out the Facebook page and click through and figure, all right, we'll join, see what's up. And they were talking about like getting a meeting together to go out to Roush. I'm like, Roush, like the Roush Creek in Pennsylvania. I'm like, oh my God, yes, I need to get into a group, because I didn't have anybody to go with, and I really wanted to go. I was ready to take that next big step to an awesome off-road park. I needed to get that fix. So all my dad had was a Ridgeline. The drivetrain wasn't that great, but it was lifted and had most of the stuff I needed. So I put it on a trailer and towed it all the way out there and had a blast. It was awesome. A great group and a great location. Absolutely loved going through all the stuff. And just kept going from there. So after that, you know, I started to get more involved with the group, get to meet all the people, see what everyone's about. They found out a YouTube channel. They thought that was kind of cool. And I just kept going to different meets. They have like 2 meets a year. And then I started getting into some other groups. There's like a guy, Hans. He likes to make personal events out to Anthracite. And that was cool. That's even tougher than Roush in some spots. It's like, wow, this is nice. So, you know, I just kept building, and yeah, here we are. We got a monster. So yeah, I guess for my entire life, it's just, that's what it's been about, man, is cars. You know, you start out with Hot Wheels and work your way up to little RC cars, and You know, then you get into video games to see what the fast vehicles are all about. You know, stuff you can't drive in person. And you're like, man, it'd be awesome to do that for real, wouldn't it? Get yourself a vehicle and, you know, let's see what it's all about. And then, you know, that's how the channel took off. I started to actually learn what I was talking about. I seem to have a pretty good knack for figuring out how things work and to, you know, fix them. So I figured might as well try to spread the knowledge and try and help some other people out. Because, you know, out of all the communities I kind of got into, I think the Jeep community it's a solid one. Everyone's a real tight-knit group. You try to help each other out and, you know, get through obstacles. And at the end of the day, it's hanging out with your buddies and having a good time on the trails. It's awesome. That's all you ever need. So, yeah. Jeep life. I think I'm hooked. I don't think it's stopping anytime soon. I'm going to try to push this thing as far as I can, you know, run that thing into the ground. Keep her alive as long as possible. Not a whole lot left to it, really just tuning and fixing things, but I can get through some stuff that even tons rigs can't get through. So I'm pretty happy with it. It's a good time, and I don't think it's stopping anytime soon. But anyway, enough blabbering about my bibliography over here. Now it's time to call out some of you YouTubers. So as you know, I got called out by Bleepin Jeep, and I guess I got to return the favor. I feel like it might be a little bit of cheating, but I think it'd be really cool to see how Tim or Tyler got into Jeeps, you know? Because I know Tyler, he's got a heck of a collection in there. He's got a whole barn full of Jeeps, so it'd be interesting to see what finally got him hooked on it all. See if we can reach Eddie at Wayalife, because they've got some beautiful JKs, you know. They don't mall crawl them either. They really know how to, they have a good time in Moab. They got some awesome stuff. So Eddie, I want to hear how you got into Jeeps. Cindy too, if you want. And if we're going for gold, I think I really want to hear from Dave from Dirt Every Day. I know he's more just four-wheel drive in general, but he's had some Jeeps. So let's see if we can get Dave, see if he'll actually take the challenge on. So there you go. Tell me about your Jeepin' story and how you got into it. Hopefully that explains how the magic happened. Alright, I think that's enough tripod for one day. Enjoy!